Hi everybody, Mark Cleghorn here. Welcome to the Photographer Academy, and today we're in, guess what, the Fuller Figure. It's part 8 in our series of starting a boudoir business. If you're new to this series, basically we've been looking at over the past 7 weeks how to kind of either integrate boudoir into your existing photography business, or how you could start off looking at getting going into boudoir, and then basically looking at how you can actually start to earn some money from boudoir as well and things really. So in addition to the series that we're doing, we plan, because of the lockdown that was imminent, we've basically got a lockdown model with us during the course of we got another 3 weeks, I think, with Kelsey, and she's our lockdown model. So we've been concentrating on a series of boudoir, and we've got loads and loads of films that we've been creating with her specifically, so we could continue to film and continue to go live. And so I would definitely get across the Photographer Academy, see what's new, see what's coming. They've got a whole kind of backup of films ready to kind of drip out during the year. But if there's anything specific you'd like to actually see in boudoir, then please obviously drop support in the email. They might have a film that was not due to go live for about 6 months, and they might be able to bring it forward and things really. So please stay in touch with us with what you want from us as members. Okay, so during the past 7 weeks, we've been looking at these step-by-step kind of elements. And last week we looked at the shoot, and we've been looking at a hotel. Now, obviously, most of the time when we're showing you images, they're with models, because obviously we need to actually employ them to use them for copyright and all that kind of thing with it, plus obviously to stand them in front of a camera. Whereas today it's slightly different, because we're looking at real women. Okay, I'm not saying that models aren't real women, but these are real local women to us here that have come in for workshop images and things. Okay, so they've actually joined us for a workshop. So they've technically been a model for us, but the only thing they're not being paid is for that hour and a half that they're with us. They've gone through no makeover, nothing as far as that's concerned to enhance anything. So what you're going to see first of all is the images that I created of Vicky, and we were going out on a boudoir tour a couple of years ago, and we needed to obviously have a whole host of different kind of ages and shapes of women and so on. Vicky applied, and she's a slightly fuller woman, so very big in the boob, nice controlled in kind of the hip shape and so on with it, but she's a real woman. And so we it was great because we can use her as a kind of a demonstration. Plus, of course, you can go and watch this on the Photographer Academy. So that's one of the reasons I chose Vicky for now and things. Before we get into the shoot, let's look at some do's. All right, so what we definitely want to do. So the first things are shoot from above, because it basically helps the actual body shape take control, especially when we learn to animate the body and control the boobs. A bodysuit is really good to contain flesh, so that kind of sculpts the body anyway. A corset will obviously control the body more. Just be careful that the corset isn't so tight on the bust that the boobs start to actually pop out when you're photographing from above. Always kind of lay slightly on the side instead of on the belly flat, okay, because that will obviously add a little bit of shape. But it'll also allow that closest to camera knee to come up towards the actual body a little bit, and that will create a lovely kind of start of an S curve. You really do want to make sure we're controlling the boobs. That can be done with arms, hands, and obviously lingerie. Be careful when we start to do the implied nude, because that can really lose control of all body shape, and you want to make sure. So even if the client really does want to celebrate their body more and more and more, don't forget it's still your job to control and shape and everything else with it. Even when we're stood up, remember a slightly legs bent, and when we're laying down, sitting down, always remember to point the feet and the toes, no matter what, because obviously it's all about stretching the leg that little bit. The kind of the main points to look out for are obviously going to be the loose tummy, the kind of the top of the arms and the thighs. Those are the main things to kind of watch out when we're kind of posing. So as long as you're identifying kind of almost a 3-point check while you just before you take the images, if you do that the 3-point check to see if you can do anything else to enhance, then you pretty much actually can kind of go through the flow. Just because you might have a fuller woman in front of you, do not use any excuse not to be daring. Do not push it. Have that kind of real discussion with the client. Many women are so comfortable in their own skin once they kind of get through that nervousness stage that you can pretty much shoot creatively just like they are a model. As far as I'm concerned, anybody's in front of me is a model. I've got to treat them in that way. I've got to make sure they have the experience like that way. And the only thing I really need to do is give them a little bit of help as far as animation and pose and so on. If you're really looking to control a very big busted woman, crossing the arms basically to actually control the boobs. You might even need to cover some of the boobs, but there is also sort of pose that is referred to in America as the pretzel, and that kind of goes, we call it the Macarena, yeah? So it's kind of one shoulder, two shoulder, and that will pretty much actually control the boob. Obviously, it depends on which height you're shaping from and things really. Remember to arch the back. I know it's going to give a little bit more ache the longer it's held, especially with somebody who's not quite fit. But goodness, you know, I'm a big guy and I won't say I'm unfit, but arching my back hurts. So don't leave people in the pose too long, yeah? But make sure you still, before you take the shot, a part of your kind of triggering to yourself, it's actually, you know, tops of the arms, stomach and thighs, then you go, okay, arch the back, then you make sure it's done and so on. Remember to have discussions with the client in advance and always highlight what they love about themselves. So if they say, I love my butt, I love my legs, I love my arms, I love my back, I love my neck, in exactly the same way, but make sure you exaggerate those instead of you trying to think that you've actually got to hide something just to exaggerate or kind of control the curve. Celebrate the curves, okay, especially for very, very curvy women. They are absolutely, they're a glorious person to photograph because I am woman, as it were, you know, and it's what I am is what you get, and I absolutely love that. And so basically remember to celebrate that curve, but again, control and so on. Do not be afraid to implied nude and kind of control. Again, obviously, as soon as we undress, whether it's losing a corset or a bodysuit or something that is being used to control, even a bra, the body will actually have a kind of its own ideas. So we need to still control. Use materials if you need to hide or disguise. We've talked about time and time again. Use chairs and props to hide and disguise again. If you're in any doubt and you're missing a kind of variety during the shoot, then focus on the details or body parts. Remember, if you're using the likes of a sheet or the likes of furniture, like I was on about, you can use that to show and hide body, especially a sheet is a really good kind of prop for us to actually control it. And then basically try and just move the tops of the arms away from the body if possible, just to stop the flattening of the flesh on the top of the arm, or disguise it in some way. So in other words, we're trying everything we can not to actually exaggerate the kind of the figure size. Okay, so this is Vicky. It's around about a 45-minute shoot in Studio 2. Please go and watch the Photographer Academy film. Jay, I'm not sure if you can actually post the link on it, perhaps.
Already
but you're a star, dude. So, like always, I usually start with a shirt. However, we don't want the over baggy shirt like perhaps we do with a kind of a slimmer figure, because with a slimmer figure we're using the bagginess to almost kind of show or titillate what is below. What we need with a slightly tighter, more fitted shirt, even still for the white shirt to begin with, is something to control the body and to actually show the shape of the body as well. Obviously, as soon as we start to unbutton the shirt more, the body is going to start to kind of reveal itself no matter what and things really, okay? But this is the kind of this laying on the side kind of pose that I was on about to you. And basically you can see with a heavy boobed woman, basically as soon as gravity takes hold, especially when they're laying down on their stomach, then kind of here, what I would do is try and actually use hands, arms, or kind of the shape of the kind of squeezing in the elbows to control and things really just that little bit more. So camera angle, where we want to avoid is actually shooting from too low. So if we can shoot from there, but the number one thing for me to when I'm photographing a fuller woman is where possible, I am shooting from above. The only thing, like I mentioned at the beginning, with the likes of a corset or a very, very tight bra, is that the boob is not pushed too forward towards me, in other words, towards the face, if I'm photographing from above and actually near the head. By doing this, photographing from above, it kind of, even though the body, when it's kind of gravity-led, it's getting wider as we lay down. Basically, the body has a different shape than when it's on the belly, where obviously the boobs are just hanging, belly is hanging, arms are hanging, and so on. So for here, it is a lot more kind of control. So you can see what we can do here, first of all, with the shirt, all right? Needling up in exactly the same way, lifting off the actual knees as well, so they're actually not just sat on the kind of the heels. And then as we start to kind of progress through the shoot, you can still see we're still in white sheet for a minute, so it's amazing what you can get done first. Laying onto this side again. Depends on the shape of the hip and the thigh, is how much that top knee is going to come across the bottom leg, as it were, so kind of moving towards the camera position, and that is just a little bit of control. When the body is disguised with the likes of shirt or material anyway, you don't need to concentrate too much on that, but what we do need to do, as soon as we've lost the shirt, we're paying a little bit more attention to it. The clients come in with really the right kind of lingerie for her, so she's got a good fit-in bra to actually have control, and even though they're pants, they're kind of a fuller pant, so they're kind of coming up onto the tummy just a little bit more. But you can see what I mean about the overhead image. It's just glorious. I like to create shadows or window light more and more with any boudoir image, but specifically I like to actually create more of a shadow with a fuller figure, because it creates a more voluptuous and a three-dimensional shape, and in the same way it does act as a bit of a thinner. So usually a no for me is a kind of a petticoat, because basically what happens with a petticoat, especially if you're not going, and this could be the same with a baby doll, yeah, basically it doesn't cling to the body and it doesn't actually show the figure. And obviously something that is oversized on a fuller figure will make the client look even bigger than they are in real life. So what we want to do is something a little bit tighter, a little bit more shape. So then we've got to use the arms, even a bit of clipping on the back of the likes of the petticoat to control the shape. So it's just not left to kind of hang and kind of really shape off that. So again, when we're onto the side, you can see we have to use a bra. Really with the petticoat that she's got on or the night dress, because obviously the boobs would just lose control themselves a little bit more, and we can kind of just go a bit too far, revealing too fast. Netting, as I mentioned before, again is really good, even when we're photographing from above. The different kind of net quality and type and color and everything else with it. You know, if we just look at those two images, one, this looks amazing in the pink, matching in with the lipstick, matching in with the tattoos, matching in with a little bit of the night dress as well. Whereas here, obviously the black lingerie now, if this image was in black and white, like you can see the next image, you can see how it all kind of comes together. This is more dynamic lighting as such. I know a lot of photographers just use a standardized kind of boudoir light, no matter what shape or style the client is. I don't believe in that. I think we need to actually use the light what is right to actually enhance the look, the style, and obviously the body shaping as well. So again, a little bit high for some of you here, but we are putting a light onto the top of the chest, which is kind of adding the eye there, instead of actually disappearing off to kind of other parts of the body shape that might be kind of needing to be disguised and things really. But we've got a good shape, good Hollywood style of lighting, three-dimensional kind of using grids and everything else. I really do want you to kind of go and watch this film, because probably if you said, Mark, what type of models should I get in when I'm practicing or training for boudoir? The last thing as a rule of thumb I would do is just go for more a very, very kind of thin or a size 8, 10 kind of model in training. Yes, you might get some amazing photographs from them, and obviously that's why you're kind of hiring that kind of model, is so you can kind of celebrate your images and so on. But there's no reason not to actually look for real people in your vicinity. Like I was saying to you, these are real women that we're seeing today who've come in for training purposes and things really, and they are the real typical kind of client that is going to be going through you with the boudoir anyway. So again, I would train with a fuller figure rather than a thinner figure if in a personal way and things really. Legs up, feet up. Again, remember, I mean, we've lost the pointing of the toes here and the feet, which is a bit of a shame, but those legs could have gone up a little bit higher and they would have really stretched and kind of elongated them as well. You can see now kind of photographing from above, and in this classic, it doesn't matter what size of figure we've got, especially when it's being controlled by a corset, it really does kind of control the body and shape the body and allows us to get quite dynamic images, no matter how old or what shape a client is and things really. This leaning of legs, highering of knees, lowering of knees, controlling of hands, you know, all the material going along, really just kind of shape it. Lighting to emphasize the figure, especially when we've got like a leather style of corset here. We need the leather to shine and not just go black, because black, if I was just had light in here, this is window light, by the way, that's all that's doing this now, whereas in the other image obviously we're using studio flash. But here, if the leather was allowed to go flat, it would just look a huge clump of size of body, instead of, you can see the shaping of the bust and you can see where the kind of the tummy shape is and so on with it and things really. So again, use the right light, and again, daylight is always my first kind of love, but obviously you can't photograph with it 24/7. So you get a good idea here of the kind of the simple variety that we can get with a fuller figure. Remembering to focus in onto the body parts that they love, like she loved the butt and things really, she loved the boobs. Parkland liked the boobs and butt as well. Obviously that's one of the things I want to concentrate on as well. Okay, then I thought we'd just go through what to kind of look at. So here we're at what I refer to as the half pretzel. So in other words, the arms are crossed and we've got a hand on each boob. This is the first time this woman had ever had photography done, full stop. So it was great to actually use her in a workshop to actually kind of show how you need to actually bring the client up. So just ignore the expressions, because we are going through a posing exercise to begin with the group for a minute before we're kind of photographing for real, as it were. So I was just explaining about controlling the bust, controlling the shape. If I wanted to do the full pretzel, then basically her right hand will go to a left shoulder and the left hand will go to the right shoulder. Still bring that knee across, but watch that it doesn't crease the stomach much, okay? If in doubt, if you've got a client fully aware of her belly, you'll soon see that, in fact, when they start pulling the sheet around themselves, if you haven't done the chat in advance. Again, I've heard the expression jelly belly so often that it's almost a part of every conversation that you have with a fuller woman, but it's not me bringing it up, it's them. And so listen is the key thing when you're beginning to actually get ready for the shoot. Listen to what they're saying about themselves, listen to what they're looking to exaggerate, and listen to what they're trying to hide. It's so, so important. Another way to kind of hide, obviously the first thing is control. So you can see here we've got a kind of night dress with a bra on the left hand side, but we're using the sheet to actually control. Then we're using the pillow, so we can swap the sheet straight away for the pillow, and that allows us to expose the leg more and everything else with it. You can see she's looking a little bit concerned here, but we are going through the start of the kind of the session with her. Baby doll sheer, in fact, as a rule of thumb, as I've said already, is something that I kind of avoid. But this was actually really quite tight around the bust, which was good. And so when we're looking at the back shot, I think the baby doll is a great one for her. But as a rule, we try and avoid it with a slightly fuller figure. I mean, this woman is nowhere near a kind of a 20, 22, 24 in size and things really. She's closer to like 14 to 16 kind of size, so a kind of average woman in the UK today. So again, these are the kind of shapes that we're training towards. Again, as far as the losing the baby doll and then using the likes of the sheet to disguise the boobs is a good way for us to go semi-implied nude. And then basically, if we didn't want to lose the kind of the knicker, we can actually just Photoshop off that line without any trouble and things we like we're seeing here. But again, using the arms to control the boob as soon as we actually lose the bra and things really. Look, you know, this is going to be, when you're working with real people, let's not forget, it's quite a nervousness kind of going through. So make sure you're having some fun with it, but don't make it into a joke. The client's got to go out there on a buzz. And I've yet to have a shoot with any woman that hasn't left the studio on a high of some kind, because the experience that they have really kind of is what she's there for. So again, once more, you can see here a quick twist of the body to actually shoot a front-on shot or a back shot and things. Again, listen if they're saying, oh, my partner really loves my back, really loves my shoulder, whatever it is, then do it, do it, do it. And don't worry if a client doesn't want to lose the pants. Yes, it will spoil the shot for you, but I can't tell her that. The whole point is making her comfortable. So we're back into the half pretzel, and you can see now how the actual hands are not only being used to cover the nipple, but they are being controlled, used to control the floppiness of the bust and things really. Again, netting kind of around the whole scene. And once more, if you're doing a kind of a movement within the shoot as well with it, shoot quite a lot and edit very, very hard. I think out of a couple of dozen images that I took, I probably only presented her with 2 or 3 of these kind of images, and this one I chose just for the expression. But again, this is where the sheet can really, really hide, but you don't have to do the full roll. We can just do a little bit at a time. So I talked about the workshops. Obviously, I do them where possible. At present, obviously, we can't with the COVID restrictions. But this is from last February, a year ago, and it's a few photographers were with me for a creative kind of boudoir day and things really, and specifically around the fuller figure. So once more, as I said to you, in addition to our professional model that we have in for the day, we also then invite kind of women in the community and things really to actually come in. So these are some of the images that the photographers have taken, okay, that they've uploaded into the client's gallery, as it were, for them to actually see and use and so on. And I thought this was a really good way for me to analyze images and kind of talk about them, about what I would kind of love and what I would kind of encourage you to change. So the first things first here, first of all, the body shape is beautiful on them both. I love the rollover of the top knee and a hit in the bed. I like the way that they use in the white sheet to actually have a little bit of a disguise. The image on the left-hand side, I think as far as the camera position and the body position, I think is better. However, the arm position on the image on the right-hand side is much more beautiful as far as the animation of the pose and everything else is concerned. I'm not absolutely a big fan of the hand near the side of the face on the right hand image, but it's still better than the one on the left and things. But for me, the main difference is a great body position on the left hand side, but the better arm position on the image on the right hand side. So if you can combine those two together, we're getting closer. Image on the left hand side, this is window light with just a whiteboard, a white foam core board as the backdrop. In fact, yeah, this is just a kind of a simple blow up bed by the window light or whatever it would be. But what I like about this is I like the way that they've used the silk sheet on the left hand side to almost trap between the arm to hide the kind of the bust, because we're basically in implied nude here. What I'm not a fan of, though, is this arm, because it's been squashed in to kind of hold the actual drape itself. And I think that's, you've gained one thing, but you've lost another. And I don't think a client would really love this image on the left-hand side. If I was shooting this image and I had to present it to the client, this is definitely an image where we would liquefy it to actually just reshape a little bit of the back and the arm, just to kind of control the shape, because it's, as photographers, we haven't done justice to the client. Image on the right hand side, really like that. I thought you've done a really good job, the photographer. I'm just not sure that the arm on the right hand side, even though they've moved it away, you can see how much thinner that arm looks now. So even though they've kind of moved it away from the body to thin the arm, they haven't relaxed the arm before they've taken the photograph and things. But otherwise, really nice shot. Again, image on the left-hand side, for me, it's just over netting used. One layer of netting or 2 layers of netting is enough to completely lose a nipple. One layer will slightly show the nipple and the shape of the bust. 2 layers will completely hide it no matter what. Here, I would have encouraged you to open the legs more, turn the body slightly away from us. And basically, there's a lot of eye contact to camera with dramatic lighting. I would avoid from the subject looking dramatically at us. Next shot here on the right hand side, love it. I think it's really good, and I hope that the photographer did it from above, which they did, which was nice, and they played around with it. I kind of chose this one subject out of all the kind of the clients that we had in on that day. One specifically was the bra and the pants that this girl has, or this woman has, is absolutely brilliant. If I remember right, she's a mum of 3 or mum of 4, and kind of thing with it. So they're the right pants to control the tummy. Photographers got her to breathe in before they just taken the photograph. On the right hand side, using the net to disguise the top of the leg just a touch more. I think that's a really nice image. On the right hand side, it's an exaggerated, you exaggerated the shape, you exaggerated the torso, you've made her waist look really skinny and things, which I'm sure she absolutely adores. The image on the left hand side, I think this is a mistake that many of you will make when you first start to shoot the fuller figure. You think you have to hide the whole body, then you're just into portraiture, and there's nothing wrong with that, but don't disguise it as boudoir. Same shot on the left hand side as we just saw on the right hand side, of course. I like both of these images. I would probably just encourage you to have kept the hand in on the left hand side. It was fully cropped out of the last image, which I'll accept, but this image, because the hand is just being cropped off a little bit, just avoid from doing that. The image on the right hand side, I'm loving the lighting, I'm loving the set, I'm loving the camera position, but I would encourage you to roll the body onto the right hip to kind of just give a little bit more shape. Image on the left, absolutely love it. And then if you just paid a little bit of attention to the hands, and use the hands and the arms in a slightly better position, because she doesn't need to hide the tummy, and if she did, she only used one hand to be doing that, or use a piece of netting or whatever it is. But otherwise, the shape is elegant, and I would definitely encourage you to be doing that. Image on the right hand side, I'm loving the use of the pillow and to give us the implied nude. I just think the expression is something that is missing, which is just a bit of a shame. Whoop. Now, expressions is not what is missing here. I love both of these images. And again, it's cropping in on the detail, looking at the eyes. Let's not forget, the eyes are amazing. Her expression is amazing. I love it, honestly. And that's what's just been missing in a few of the other images. She doesn't need to look at me to have a lovely, soft expression, but she definitely needs to have a expression as such. Image on the left, loving the shape. Love the expression. I love the raised leg. I'm liking how you've kind of sucked in the tummy just before you've taken the shot. We've still got a bit of netting just to disguise the tummy, because obviously we are laying on the belly. I would encourage the image on the left hand side to just roll away from camera just a fraction. Image on the right hand side is very Marilyn Monroe-esque, but there's no control of the boobs, and you haven't got a symmetry of the boob kind of going on here. And I think, again, just that little bit of control, little bit of shaping really with the hands would have actually really, with the arms, would have really made a big difference to this image and things really. But again, look at the difference in the tonality though. The image on the left-hand side is very bright and whited out, where the image on the right-hand side almost feels kind of grey and unspectacular. Next image. Ooh. So again, I've just chosen images to celebrate and kind of critique, as it were. Okay, so you get a good idea with it. So the image that the photographer has taken on the left-hand side, this is what we call the smelly armpit. And if you ever end up doing this, okay, you'll know exactly what I mean, because it looks like it's what you're doing. You shut her eyes and basically it's basically she's sniffing the armpit anyway. So look at the difference between the image on the left and the image on the right. It's the image on the right we need. Yeah, they're using the netting on the legs. We've got good shape on the belly, shape on the boobs as well. We've got a lovely kind of animation of the body shape. We've got a lift of the chin towards camera position to stretch the neckline. Nice kind of soft lighting overall with it. If I'm being critical, the only thing I don't like is the hand just up near the top of the head with it and things really, but still a lovely image and one a client will love. I like this. They're using the one layer of netting to kind of cover, and then they basically let it drop in front. So in the image on the left hand side, they're almost shooting through the tunnel of net. Image on the right hand side, they've covered over one layer and obviously shooting through it looks kind of soft and everything else, but I like both of those. Shot here again, loving them both, prefer any of them to be honest, so they could both be shown to the client. Probably one of them though, because they're so similar, I would definitely get eyes closed. And probably the image on the right hand side, I would opt for the pretzel. So in other words, the two hands to actually kind of cover to the shoulders. As we can see, both boobs are beginning to actually lose control, and we need to just control them a little bit more. And that's what the pretzel will do and things. So remember, the pretzel or the Pringle, yeah, Macarena, sorry, will kind of give that kind of shape and things really. You tell a client to do the Macarena to the shoulders, they'll do it instantly, and then you just go, okay, now use the elbows to control the boob shape, and they'll do it straight away. You don't have to work hard, I promise, at all with it. I'm loving this image as the Implied. Obviously, we've lost her bra now. I would just pay a little bit more attention to covering over the nipple, especially as we are using the netting rather than actually show and tell, as it were. Next shot's here, the back shot with just the robes. I definitely encourage you, if your clientele base is going to be a fuller woman, an older woman, and so on, I would definitely invest into a variety of robes. Obviously, in the present day, if you're going to be shooting, you know, 3, 4, 5, 6 sessions in a day, if you're allowed to, obviously, when we reopen. Basically, I'd make sure you've got enough of the robes. They're not very expensive at all. You can order them on the likes of Wish or Shein today, and you're probably paying no more than probably £5 to £10 for each one of them. Different sizes, different colours, and obviously you try and just use one per client, obviously before they get washed again and things really. But loving both of those images, and I like the way you've cropped in on the detail on the left, but you've still got me an image on the right. So just to recap, the don'ts, don't shoot too low, especially if you're looking up at a client. So if somebody stood by a window, we'd usually kind of shoot low as a camera angle for a more fashion approach. That doesn't work as well, especially if the subject is short and a fuller figure. It kind of loses the body dynamic and just looks a little bit weird in perspective. So then don't shoot low at all, obviously shoot from high and down. Try and encourage them not to wear loose clothing like a baby doll, as we explained. Don't just wear a standard bra and pants. Most fuller women will have a fuller knicker anyway, but try and obviously kind of discuss with them in advance to make sure we've got the right attire. And obviously by booking these sessions in 2, 3, 4 weeks ahead, it gives the clients an opportunity to actually kind of get those kind of products in if they don't have anything and things ready. Don't exaggerate the tummy or uncontrolled skin. That's a natural photographer problem, is when we get carried away with the shoot and we get distracted and we don't look at control. So just before, do your 3-point kind of registration again. Remember the top of the arms, tummy, and the top of the legs. And then basically, have you done everything you can to shape and control? Once you've done that, you can move on. Don't hold back the creativity. If you're used to shooting models, if you're used to shooting one size of subject, I know that basically you might kind of get a little bit restricted in your head. Do not. You should be celebrating the curves. That is the main thing, that if somebody is coming in for a boudoir experience, give them the full boudoir experience and don't hold back because you're not experienced in a certain shape. Or age, of course. And don't be afraid to play with the posing. Give yourself a little bit more kind of variety, so you can basically look at how the pose can be changed. If you've done a standard pose time and time again, then remember to add at the end of the session something for you, something to try out, and something that might be able to come into future sessions. So remember those do's before we take questions. Shoot from above. Try and get some kind of body suit to control a body, in other words. A corset is good as well, but be careful they're not too tight on the bust to actually pop them out. Lay on the side, gently remembering to raise the knee a little bit if you can as well. Always control the boobs, especially if they're very full. Always have the legs bent, whether they're stood up, sat down, on a chair, on a bed, doesn't matter. The leg is going to be bent and the toe and the feet is going to have a point. Be daring for you and be daring for them. Encourage them as much as you can and celebrate the curve, Remember to cross arm to do the Macarena, to cross the arms to control the boobs, arch the back at all stages. So just before you take the photograph, you go, okay, suck in and arch the back. They'll do it for you. Once you've said it 3 or 4 times, they'll do it without you even thinking then. And then basically highlight, remember what they love, to celebrate the curve or the part of the body that their partner or they love. Try and get some implied nude because they really work well with netting and sheets. Use material if people really need to actually cover up. I've shot quite a lot of single and double mastectomies, and some women want to show, some women want to hide. So in other words, some women want to really celebrate it. I've even shot one woman who basically in the shoot, as it were, with confidence level and everything else, and basically she only had the one breast, and she felt that she needed to hide. But in fact, as soon as she saw the images, emotionally charged and everything else, we booked her straight in for a follow-up shoot, which we did complimentary, of course, and basically we kind of did then more implied and kind of more showing the scar and the kind of the loss of the breast, and that takes for her to celebrate it. And obviously it's a very emotional thing for anybody with any scarring on the bodies, no matter what. There can even be scarring from massive weight loss, and even at times I've photographed women who are very heavy in the tummy, but in fact that's the only place they are. That's because they have all the loose skins from exaggerated weight loss and so on with it and things really. So again, it's just one of those things to watch out for. Chairs and props to the skies, focus in on the details, show and hide as much of the body as they want you to, and remember to raise the arms or just slightly cover the arms a little bit before you actually kind of move on to the next section. Jay, that's us done, mate. We've got time for the questions there. Remember the next session, part 9 as it were, we're looking at the slightly younger client and what and how we can kind of create for them. Jay, any questions there at all?
Yes, there was a question, and I'm not sure if it came in before we released the links to this. It's actually a 2-part film we made at Vicky, but the links are there in the chat panel for the guys to go and watch. But the question came in, I don't know whether it was particularly aimed at the fuller figure, But typically, how many lights are you using in a boudoir session?
2.
2. Very definitive. Okay, the question came in, and I did point them to the films because they were asking about the positioning of the lights and your positioning.
Should we just jump into one a minute?
Yeah.
There you go. So, there you go. Brilliant. So that's what we can see. This is Studio 2, 5 meters by 5 meters, dedicated boudoir room most of the time. Okay, to the opposite where the subject is on the bed, Vicky's on the bed. We've got a huge window there. That's all the window light coming through on the floor. But everything that we're photographing with her is either being done with this small softbox, an Octa, and a beauty dish fitted with a honeycomb on. Okay, so actually give us more control. So you can see here now, as a rule of thumb, so now we've moved into the night dress element. You can see we're using more of a Hollywood light. So this is a barn doors now. I'm not sure how clear that is, Jay, on the film screen.
Yeah, it's nice and clear while you're when you're pausing it. Yeah.
So this is basically the key light and the separation light, and this separation light is about 1 stop to 2 stops below. Now, Debbie or a female assistant will usually be adjusting all of the netting around the client. I'm very rarely near a client, as it were. The closest I'm going to be when I'm photographing, and that's it. But otherwise, I always work with a female assistant within the room to help me and help the client as well. You could use the makeup artist if that's what you've got. Like you're seeing me now, I don't mind to, obviously with the client's permission and everything else with it you've discussed and you're kind of working through, but I tend to work like dirty dancing, yeah? So in other words, not where I'm kind of getting them to run at me and then jump up on the my arms, as it were. But basically, I'm trying to give them space. And at the beginning of the shoot, I'm further away, and then I'll get closer and closer and closer, and then I'll back off. So I get that variety during the shoot. So you can see here now, we're beginning to actually add more dramatic lighting in. So this is going to be a small honeycomb and this beauty dish with a grid on in the background. So traditionally, we're using 2 lights. So we just showed this image, didn't we, really? So you can see the fan just off the left hand. Oh, we've got 3 lights on there, in fact, because we're using a separation light on the hair here. So we're using a double separation. That is the small beauty dish with the honeycomb grid. We've got a reflector dish with a honeycomb grid, or it might even be raw flash. And then obviously we've got the main light source, which is a honeycomb lighting. Does that help, Jake?
Yeah, it's a great way to show it. But yeah, brilliant. And as I said, the links.
Never done that before, have we?
No, I don't think we have, but it worked really well with you stopping and starting it, and it's nice and clear on the site, so it's a good thing for us to remember. Yeah.
But you can see how big that Octa is, because I want it big and soft.
But again, going and watching the films, you can hear all of Mark's direction to the client. You'll be able to see each setup and obviously the end result. Plus, Mark will typically talk you through the session at the beginning and the end as well.
So if you can just see above my head there to the left-hand side, there's a little shelf. And on that shelf is the projector. So this room is set up for a total business operation. Do you know what I mean? When we created Studio 2, for those of you new to us, we created Studio 2 as a double garage size, yeah? Obviously the height we can't control because it's an old church and it's massive in height, and that's where all the heat goes. Hey ho, but basically the bed would move out of the way, the sofa would move across. Images are already on the walls and things really to the right hand side, but this would then convert itself straight into a viewing room as well with it and things really, okay? So the only place where we don't screw anything into the walls is behind the main bed head there, because that is left plain. But otherwise there are certain points, like you can see either side of the backdrops, there's images, and behind camera position there's images, and that's obviously so the client is getting familiar with wall art, even though the majority of boudoir never really actually buys anything as far as wall art is concerned. Saying that, last year I did sell a 60-inch canvas to a girl in Dublin. Anything else, Jake?
Not about the sessions. There was just a question about asking for a little bit more information about the experience group, but other than that, nope, all good.
Okay, I'm just going to nip through to the second part of the studio there, because this is the window light part, isn't it? So I mentioned that this is the window end of Studio 2. There we go. So this gives us really great light kind of coming in. Just to my left-hand side, you can see the desk where a computer would be, or a monitor, whatever it would be. I tend not to actually tether into a laptop during a boudoir shoot at all and things really. But if you're a boudoir business, the whole business is set up for it. And with experienced marketing and everything else with it, things really, you should actually be able to create 3 to 4 sessions every day without any real hassle kind of coming through your doors and things really, with an average spend of between £400 and £600. So again, but that's with a specialist boudoir business. Talking about experience, basically, obviously for those of you who are, I should say as well, at the end of a lot of our sessions, we do these short interviews with clients while they're having a cup of tea, just to actually get how they felt about it and everything else with it and things really. And I definitely encourage you guys to be doing that as well. Right, what are we on about? Experience. So the experience group was set up just over 6 years ago, and basically it's designed as a business and marketing company for portrait photographers. Depending on the speciality, everything from dog and equine going through to boudoir and dance photography and things.
Thanks for asking about the experience.
That always plays by itself all the time, sorry. But again, we've got different packages to suit. What I would say though, in fact, we've got an offer running. If you're a customer, a registered customer of either sim imaging, Kaleidoscope, One Vision, or Digital Lab, at present you can actually join the experience group for only £900 for the whole year. That doesn't give you the full experience XMP, we call it, or what is called online, but this gives you a really great excuse as an entry level into the business and training that we do, which includes bi-weekly kind of sessions and so on, as well as our studio restart that restarts off every 8 weeks for 6 weeks. But this is a whole year, plus you get graphics and all the kind of literature design and everything else that you might need as far as templates are concerned. This is a real ready-to-go business changer or business start. And so, as you said, if you're a member, if you're a customer of one of the others, and all you've got to do is register with them, and then basically you can tell us, and we just check that you are registered. And if you're registered with one or all of them, you can apply for Experience Light at £900 for the whole year, which saves you a considerable amount of money. Yeah, I talked about the benefit and the offers. Did I talk enough about the training that we do with it? Is that okay?
Yeah, I think it's just to make it clear that, you know, we're an online, you know, sort of marketing gurus, you know, for you, so we can help you start a business or, you know, breathe life back into an existing one. The key thing really is that if you want more information, the information's there in the chat panel for you to get in touch with Laura, our business development manager, and she can arrange for a brochure or whatever to be emailed or sent out to you, and of course arrange a chat with her. There's no obligation. Find out if it is for you. One of the questions that comes to the chat panel always does social media. That's my area, so we'll take care of that for you as well. So and obviously that's changing all of the time, so we're ahead of the game there, and we'll absolutely simplify that for you.
When you come across onto this Experience Join Now page to see the different options that we have, you'll see the different things that are there. You'll notice that Experience Community is off the cards for the whole of 2021, okay, because we don't believe that we'll actually be able to have our groups in. So we took it off the cards, obviously, as soon as we went into lockdown 1 last year. And then basically we made the decision that we wouldn't be open for community until 2022 at the earliest anyway. So as far as Experience Community, if you wonder why that's not there, that's so on. But remember, as specialist in training people online, the Photographer Academy is going in its 13th year now. But as specialists online, that's what we deliver. And one of the things that we now also deliver is the photography training online direct to the photographers. And what do I mean by that? Okay, you're used to now going on to the Academy website and you're seeing Academy live at 5 on a Wednesday, yeah? But in fact, we're live at 12:30 and 3 o'clock on those days as well to the experience group, and that will actually just grow more and more during the course of the year as soon as we're allowed real people in. As far as the kind of the training is concerned, what we're trying to do is take a lot of the bullshit out of the way for you. That's the key thing. So when you basically know that I'm giving you advice, the advice is because it's going to work. So if I'm telling you for a reason that these are good products to sell, this is the kind of rate that you can sell them at without any trouble, then I would listen to it. This is how you're going to fill a diary with 3-4 sessions a day, and so on with it. And we, I don't get the full figures from all of the experience group, okay, as far as their weekly or monthly or kind of yearly figures. But last year, 20%, even though we were closed for close to 4 months, okay, 20% of the experience group had record years by a mile. So that is obviously kind of just applying it. And if with other photographers within the experience group, for those who'd been able to continue, in other words, for those other 4 months, they would have actually had record years as well within things really. So again, it's not just us saying it. Now, the photographers that it doesn't work for is people who sit on their butt, who just can't be bothered. Often the photographer has been around the game for a very long time and they're lazy and they're just waiting for us, you know, to restart and kind of, I'll just run a promotion every now and again. I'll accept £200 sales and all that kind of thing. Yeah, if that's what you want, then that's fine. You can still join experience and you'll still get a reward on it. But reality, the more you put into your business, the more you give a client a true experience, it delivers hand over fist. I wish that I could name names or shame people, but I'm not allowed to do that, I've been told. Anyway, Jay, anything else, bud?